Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel featuring my vacuum cleaner. I just noticed is in the frame. Also featuring Hayes. Hayes is going to be on the floor playing, hopefully for most of this video. But I wanted to talk about some things that I did not expect. Whoa. You okay? Are you alright? Hayes has been kind of teething lately, showing symptoms of teething. He doesn't have teeth yet, but he's been drooling a lot. So his drool, anytime he lays on the floor, he'll get choked on it a little bit. So he's not sick, he just gets choked on his drool. Anyways, I wanted to talk about 10 things I did not expect about birth/postpartum. Things that I felt like I was either going crazy because I never heard anybody talk about it, or things that I knew, but I didn't know the extreme of it, or I didn't think that, it would happen to me or what it would be like truly. And to be honest with you, a lot of these things you don't really know until you witness it yourself. So if you are pregnant watching this video, expecting your first baby, I just want to encourage you, it's great to watch these type of things, to be mindful of, and that's kind of what my hope is. Sorry, Hayes is talking. My hope in this video is to talk about these things so you're more aware of them, maybe, so when the time comes you're not super taken off guard like I was. Or this video is also for you postpartum mamas. If you are searching YouTube, I feel like I'm going crazy, what is wrong, is this normal, is anybody else going through this? Just to say, you're not alone. I went through it too. So grab some coffee. My coffee is already almost gone because I have been chugging it down. Grab your favorite drink, whatever. Let's just sit and have some fun little coffee chats. So number one, shakiness and shivering after post-birth, after your epidural. And I did not know that this is, I think I recently just found out a day or two ago that it's from the epidural. I thought maybe it's just from post-birth because all the adrenaline and stuff, and it probably is a mix of adrenaline and getting the epidural. So I got an epidural. I got it, I think I was dilated to a 7. And I mainly got the epidural because I had been contracting really painfully for 2 straight weeks, and I was so ready to be out of that pain. The epidural was great. I did not feel a thing. It was amazing. It was not painful getting in. That was something that was I was really scared about. It was great. 10 out of 10 recommend. But if you don't want to get the epidural, that's great too. But I was shivering. I could hardly even talk because my mouth was going I was just shaking so bad after birth. But I remember the nurses just being so calm and chill, and they're like, yeah, you're okay, it's fine, it's just, that's normal, it happens. But you can be acting like you're freezing cold, but you just can't control the shakes. And so I think it only lasted maybe 30 minutes. I don't really remember it. All of it's kind of a blur, but I just remember after, I was just I couldn't even talk to Emmett, and I was trying to eat food, and I was shaking so bad. So that's something I didn't know that happened. Number 2 is the extreme hormones / crying postpartum. So I did know this going into it, that my hormones were going to be a little wacky. I didn't really know. I was really worried about postpartum depression because I've struggled with depression my whole life. And so I knew that I would feel a little off. But I didn't really, like I said, you don't really know what you're going to be until you're in the midst of it. And also I did have a very different birth experience than most people. Hayes was taken to the NICU. So I did not get to have the normal, my baby was with me, he was taken from me. So that on itself was already really emotional as it is. But I was perfectly fine the first whole day, and then I think that night, so I gave birth kind of in the morning, early afternoon, I think it was 11, 12 or 12, and that night it just hit me like a train. I was crying so hard. I was up until 2 or 3 because I was trying to get my milk supply in, so I was waking up every 3 hours to pump, and so I was exhausted, but also just the sudden drop in your hormones that happens as soon as you give birth. It just kind of can hit you out of nowhere. And so I didn't know what was wrong. but I could not stop crying. I felt anxious. I felt terrified. I couldn't put like my finger on a feeling that I was feeling. I was just feeling like almost like I was having a panic attack and crying so much. And it wasn't every day, but there were moments over the next few weeks. So Hayes was in the NICU for 10 days and then we got home. But over the course of that first month to 2 months, you can have excessive crying just hit you out of nowhere. And I just want to normalize that because I thought that something was wrong with me. I would be sitting on the couch like perfectly fine and happy with Hayes. And then next thing you know, I would just be bawling my eyes out and feel really, really sad. And they call that the baby blues. That goes into my number 3, the baby blues. I did not expect to be as heavy feeling as they were. I just figured, you could just have crying and that's kind of what they call the baby blues. But like, I really did feel like, do I have postpartum depression? But it really was only in that first month and it did go away after that first month. I do think it can turn into postpartum depression if you are experiencing those feelings way longer. And if there are some really like suicidal feelings or just like you have no motivation, like depressed feelings. But if it's in that first month to kind of 2 months, I do think that's what they more call the baby blues. And so I definitely got hit with those, and was really sad like every day. It hit me at nighttime was always when it got the worst. It's like as soon as it started getting dark outside and I knew we were about to have a long night ahead of us, I would get really, really sad. I'd cry a lot. I just would feel not like myself, which is very normal because you just birthed a human being. You are a different person now. Like so many things just happen to your body. Like you're healing physically, and not only physically, you're healing emotionally. So yeah, that's something that I knew was a thing. I knew baby blues were a thing, but I just didn't know how like intense they were, I guess you could say. At least for me, they were pretty intense. This does not happen for everybody. And like I said, I do want to say that this is my experience. So I may be saying these things that happened to me and they may not have happened to you postpartum. 4 is rage, like the rage moments. That kind of goes in with like your emotions. Like I had a lot of moments of frustration and anger, and I think they call that postpartum rage. And that can turn also into postpartum depression if you continue to have it. Luckily, I've gotten a lot better at it. I have moments where I'm extremely overtired. I think every mom has that. I remember one night specifically, like I think it was for his 3 a.m. feeding. I was up by myself and I was trying to do the feeding by myself because usually Emmett was helping me and waking up with me, but I wanted him to get rest. I wanted to be able to learn how to do this by myself. But I remember I could not swaddle him back. I could not get the hang of it. We were swaddling him with blankets at the time because he's a preemie, so he was still so big for a sleep sack. So we just swaddled him in a little like receiving blanket. And we were pros at it, but Emmett was so good at it and I could not get the hang of it. And so I was so tired, wanting to go back to sleep. Hayes was crying because he wanted to be swaddled, and I kept doing it and it was too loose, or I kept doing it and I couldn't remember how to fold it correctly, and I got so mad. And I remember, ew, that was my dog, gross. I remember like setting Hayes, like Hayes was laying down on the bed, I was trying to swaddle him, and I remember I fell to the ground and I was just like, I can't do this, like, and I was so mad, I was so frustrated, and it was just like an overwhelming sense of like anger that like I am never usually like that. And so I was just like, what is wrong with me? Like I am a monster right now. Anyways, I had moments like that. It wasn't every day, but it would just hit me and I would get really frustrated, but I couldn't tell why. I'd get frustrated with Emmett, or I'd get frustrated at little tiny things and just get so angry. And I think that's what they call postpartum rage. And that is also kind of a normal thing. So that got a lot better after the first few weeks. But in those moments, I felt like such a monster. I was like, what is wrong with me? Why am I so angry? And I could not figure out what was wrong. Number 5 is the extreme hunger when you are breastfeeding. Holy crap. Like, you think you're hungry when you're pregnant? The hunger that I had, like probably even just the first week, in the first like 48 hours, I had to have a snack like every 30 minutes, it felt like. And I didn't realize like your body's burning off so many calories when your milk comes in, when you're pumping, or when you are breastfeeding. You have to make sure that you're eating enough. And I just felt like, I'm like, I don't think I've ever reached this state of hunger. Like I could eat a full meal and be ready for another meal 10 minutes later, like starving. So I was snacking all the time. So biggest tip, have snacks with you everywhere you go. Protein bars, something that's like filling, that has a lot of calories, that's gonna fill you up, because you need to have those calories when you're breastfeeding or when you're pumping. I did not expect that. I had a few people make jokes about it, like, oh yeah, just wait till you're breastfeeding. But I was like, oh yeah, but it's true. You're starving all the time, more even when you're pregnant. 6 is talking about breastfeeding / pumping, the painful engorgement when your milk comes in. This is something that I had no idea about, okay? I just thought like your milk comes in, you know, a few days after birth, and then you're able to breastfeed or pump. I did not know that your boobs get massive and they get hard, like hard as stones, like rocks, and it is so painful. I was up, this was probably day 3 or 4, when my milk like fully came in, and I was pumping at the time because Hayes was in the NICU. I could not sleep because I was so uncomfortable and they were hurting so bad. And so I remember I had to take a hot shower to try to massage it. I was doing all of these things. I got the little heating and ice pads that you can put in your bra. Those were really helpful. So I always recommend getting those for moms postpartum, because that's something I had to drive to the store to get. I just did not expect it to be that painful. And it may not be that way with everybody. I don't know. I did have a huge oversupply in the first few months with Hayes, so that could have been why it was so painful, but it may just be painful all around. I don't know. I'm a first-time mom. That's something I did not know. I did not know that you are in so much pain when your milk first comes in. Number 7 is night sweats. Okay, I had these when I was pregnant, so I've went through them before, so I wasn't super taken off guard, but I thought that they were gonna be over when I was pregnant. But the first like week, I'm pretty sure, you can have night sweats, and it might even be longer than a week. It may be like it was longer than a week for me. It was the first few weeks probably. Extreme night sweats. Like I woke up and I would have to change my clothes and put a towel under me because I was soaking wet from sweat, and I wouldn't even be hot. It was just like my body is just like detoxifying all of this stuff, all of this fluid. And oh my gosh, that was awful. I'm so glad that that is not a thing anymore. Nowadays, I just have every once in a while milk all over the sheets when I wake up in the morning, or to pump at night. So that's something I did not expect. Number 8 is your feet growing post-birth. So I always heard about your feet growing when you were pregnant, and my feet did grow a little bit when I was pregnant, maybe like a half size. I was like, okay, that's fine. I can still pretty much fit in my shoes, except literally after I gave birth to Hayes, I cannot fit in any of my shoes. Like my feet are a whole another size bigger. And I thought that only happened while you were pregnant, not like it. I didn't think it could happen after you gave birth, but it did for me, and apparently that can happen. Chances are your feet can grow. And I thought I was like out of the clear, because I was like, oh, okay, my feet didn't grow a ton since I've been pregnant. He's falling asleep. I'll be fine, you know. Post-birth, they did. So that was something I did not expect. Number 9 is hallucinations when you're sleeping. So Emmett and I both had these, and I don't know if it's just like you are so overtired in those like first month or two, and really it was like the first month for us, but like so for Hayes, he was eating every 3 hours, so we would have feedings at midnight, 3, 6, and 9. So always that like midnight to 3 feedings, one of the two, you're so tired. So like he was a preemie, so we had to set alarms at the time to wake up to feed him. He didn't wake up on his own for the first like week or two, and then he started to kind of stir on his own. But we would wake up and be like, just have an outer body experience. Like there was a time that Emmett was feeding Hayes a bottle, and I think it was like at the 3 feeding or something. And I remember it was like 4 in the morning, and Emmett grabbed me and like shook me, and he was like, where is Hayes? And I was like, what are you talking about? Hayes just pooped. I hope you heard that. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, and I was so tired, and he was like, oh, did I sleep on him? And like he thought that he had fell asleep with Hayes and that he was in his arms and like he wasn't there. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's right here. Like he's in the bassinet next to me. But like I always had those fears. I would have fears that I didn't wake up to feed him, but it wouldn't always be fear. You would just like imagine things were there that aren't there. Yeah, just like hallucinations, whether about Hayes or about the dog or about each other. Because I guess you're just so tired and you're just like, what is going on? So that goes into the 10th thing that's kind of similar is I had, and I do think now looking back, this could be like postpartum anxiety. It's gotten extremely better. I don't, now at the 4-month mark, I don't really have it hardly ever, sometimes every once in a while. But for the first 2 months, I had extreme irrational fears, like, and super dark thoughts about Hayes or about him dying or about like just crazy things. Like I would, like for example, I would set Hayes on his changing table. He is not able to even hardly move yet. Like he's perfectly fine if I stepped aside to grab something really fast. And I would have fears, like in my head, I would literally picture him falling, dying, like or rushing to the emergency room, like extremely dark thoughts. I have heard that's normal. I don't know why, but it's scary because like you're always like, you feel like you're being so negative because, so that's something I had that I didn't know that wasn't, like I said, it's gotten much better. I don't really have those type of things anymore. And I really had to get to the point where I had to like, just like anytime I had those fears, like just speak out loud, like against them and just speak truth over me or pray and ask the Lord to just like comfort my mind and like help my mind to be clear. But I think it was a mixture of like hallucinations with, just tiredness and like all these hormones that you're feeling. So that was something I did not expect either. So that's like kind of a weird one to end on. Hayes is pooping. He just filled his pants. Those are 10 things I did not expect about post-birth / postpartum. If you are a new mom and you're about to experience birth, or you're a new mom and you just went through birth, I just want to encourage you. This time is crazy and it is all over the place. You are not in a state that is like clear, and your head and everything can be kind of all over the place, and you can feel super alone because no one, I feel like, talks about it enough. So I just hope that you feel like you're not alone when you're watching this video, and know that like a lot of these crazy things are normal. It is just like that season and period of this beautiful journey, and it's not going to be forever. And if you do feel like you do have postpartum depression, or you're feeling just really not like yourself and it has been past like a month or two, talk to your OBGYN, talk to a therapist, like try to see if there, you can find options, whether it's counseling or medication. Like if you need it, like you have to do what you need to do sometimes to be the best mom that you can be. But just give yourself grace, because it is a wild ride. Postpartum is wild. But it is really great, and it is really beautiful in a lot of ways, but it's also just messy. And I think that's why it's fun, because you're just like, you just feel like you're just strapped into a roller coaster and you're just going crazy, but it is only for a very short time. And I feel like looking back, it goes by like that. So soak it in and enjoy it while you can. But I love you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.